Peace and blessings, y'all. This is Isa Hassan, and it is chilly here in Philly. I am really unprepared for this cold weather, but I'm gonna try to make it through all of the sights here. But don't let them lie to you. It's not always sunny in Philadelphia. It's probably gonna be quite a dreary day for filming. Either way, I'm gonna try to make it through all of the sights along the Independence Park off on the east side of town at Penn's Landing Park on the Delaware River, with beautiful views of the port below and the Franklin Bridge, as well as interesting cultural elements and historic boats, submarines, as well as a seaport museum. So I hope that you enjoy this video. Right now I'm at the American Revolution Museum, and unfortunately it's a little out of budget and a little out of my schedule, so I won't be able to make it through here. It looks like a great museum though, so support my channel, that way I can come back in the future and let you see all of the other sites that I might miss on this trip. This city is so rich with history. This is the birthplace of America and the birthplace of electricity. So many of the buildings here date back to the earliest colonial periods in the 1700s and 1800s. Right now I'm actually at the American Philosophical Society Library, which was a place for the study of natural sciences as well as metaphysical. This is actually the Carpenter's Hall, where the First Continental Congress actually gathered in 1774, and it's just adjacent to some old buildings that house the military museum. The Independence Hall Visitor Center and the Liberty Bell Center are both dazzling modern glass and brick buildings, and the Independence Hall Center actually has a terrace that overlooks the parks below. And one of the things that I really love about this city is the green space in the downtown area. From the east you have the Korean War Memorial and the Vietnam War Memorial that are actually both situated over the highway which runs beneath them underground. And I think that's really cool because it's really beneficial to have green spaces and parks in urban areas. Now I've come through the meandering halls of the Liberty Center Museum to see the Liberty Bell positioned just behind me here. It's a fantastic relic of American history, made in 1753, rang on the day of independence, the day that America was founded in 1776 on July 4th. This is a great symbol of American history, designed to proclaim liberty. It's drizzling here in Independence Park, and unfortunately, Independence Hall is all sold out. There's no availability, I can't go inside, but it's a beautiful historical building that actually served as the center where the Declaration was signed in 1776 and where the Constitution was signed in 1787. Just adjacent to this building though, there are also the original Congress building, which served from 1791 until 1800. And there's a lower room where the House of Representatives had met. This is also the room where James Madison had introduced the idea of the Bill of Rights, and where John Adams had been inaugurated as the second president of the United States. On the upper level is the Senate room, the upper house, where George Washington actually was inaugurated as the president for the second time, and there are many other recreated rooms restored to look like they did back in the 17 and 1800s. Just beside Congress Hall there is a small exhibit housing some of the original documents of the American government, including original printed versions, not signed, printed copies of the Constitution, of the Declaration of Independence, and the Articles of Confederation, which actually date back to that time in the late 1700s. On the left side of the building, there is the old City Hall, which now has a gift shop inside, and it's of particular interest because this is where the first Supreme Court of the United States met from 1791 until 1800. This is George Washington Square with a memorial for him and an ever-burning flame in his honor. And interestingly enough, there are actually thousands of unmarked graves from soldiers who served in the American Revolution. They have a memorial for those unknown soldiers as well. Just south of Independence Park, there are a number of these small gardens tucked away, each one with its own beauty. If only it was a brighter day to see how vibrant these flowers are. Just north of Carpenter's Hall and New Hall is Franklin's Court, which does not contain the original houses of Benjamin Franklin, but they've placed outlines to show where they once stood. Within the Franklin Court is also the Benjamin Franklin Museum, which unfortunately I don't think I'll be able to visit today due to time constraints. I continued my walking tour through the Philly streets, each step taking me back years in time, until I reached the Declaration House, where Thomas Jefferson actually wrote the Declaration of Independence. From there I traversed the ornate alleyways and decorative streets to reach the Betsy Ross House, where the first flag of America was crafted. I then managed to pass by the grave of Benjamin Franklin at the Christ Church burial ground, and once again passed through Independence Park and right by the Constitution Center. From the Constitution Center, from Independence Park, I went on north, passed by a beautiful Franklin Square, where there was a nice, large art installation devoted to Benjamin Franklin's discovery of electricity. I continued north again towards my last historic destination through the wet and winding pathways in Philadelphia to the house of Edgar Allan Poe. Beside me here is the house of Edgar Allan Poe, who was an early American poet, acclaimed for writing the first detective stories, and very famous for his horror novels. Interestingly enough, I was doing some research on Poe prior to coming here, and I found out that one of his first poems, and the longest poem he ever wrote, was titled Al-Araf, after the concept in the Quran of a place between heavens and hell. And also, he had a poem titled Israfil, which is the name of an angel in the Quran, and he quotes from the Quran in his poems. It's really interesting for me to see how these early American poets and philosophers held the Islamic civilization in such high regard. It's so beautiful, especially in a world now where modern Americans sometimes tend to look down on the Islamic society. Obviously, they're not very educated in early American history to do such a thing. Around nightfall, I started to head toward downtown to see the beautifully illuminated buildings, and of course, as soon as I made it, it started raining. Wait a minute. Is something wrong? As you can see, I stopped in Chinatown to see the beautiful Friendship Arch on Arch Street. Then I made my way through the markets and the streets to reach the City Hall downtown. This building is the largest municipal building in all of the United States. It's so detailed in its designs and yet so grand and expansive as well. Even though it was rainy, even though it was cloudy, the clouds provided a nice mystical overtone to the city above. And as if I needed any more water, there was a fountain to walk through beside the city hall as well. This city was incredibly vibrant. As soon as I left, I couldn't stop thinking about the verdant gardens and the monumental buildings which housed events that I learned about in school. These are places that we grew up hearing about in America, very close to the heart of every American. Of course, I only had one day there, so I did not have enough time to do justice in this city. I had to move on to my next destination. Just arrived late night in Times Square, and I'm amazed by all of these lights. This city is so alive, and although I am upset a little bit that I didn't get to see all of Philadelphia and that the weather wasn't great there, I'm incredibly happy to be here, and I hope that you'll tune in for the next video where I'll explore this city. Until then, peace and blessings. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow me through my journey in life.